What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game of Life podcast. Where each and every Friday/Saturday discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my co-host, Arthur Thomas. What is up, man?
Not much. It's Friday. Hopefully lost some weight this week after shoveling snow a few times because of a snowstorm.
Nice. That's a lot of snow. It sounds like, as far as getting some cardio in.
Yeah.
Nice. And of course, we got my man Church in the building here. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. You may have snow, Arthur, but we have the rain. Okay.
That's right.
We're slipping and sliding over here in Cali.
It's crazy.
Dude, can Californians even spell hydroplane?
Bro, it don't matter. It's rough out here on these streets.
Rooftops are flying off. It's crazy.
Right, our convertibles no longer work.
Dude, Church, I've never owned a car license in my life. I've educated multiple people in my life about hydroplaning. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, how do you not know about this? And also, why am I in your car?
There's way too many people that shouldn't have a license. I'll say that.
I was educating my coworker about hydroplaning on our way to a work meeting while we're driving, and I'm like, oh yeah, stay in the lane and the treads behind the car. Stay in the treads from the car in front of you. Why? What do you mean why? Like, cool. Let me just me. I've never got a license. Educate you how to not die in the rain.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to go 60 in a 30. It's like, what the fuck? Oh man. Well, if you're watching this, hello. Be sure to like, subscribe here on our channel, YouTube channel for the Game Show Live podcast. If you prefer to listen to these episodes, you can also be more than welcome to subscribe or follow on the application of your choice. Be sure to do that. Arthur does our streams for the Games for Life as well on the YouTube as well. So be sure again to subscribe to our channel. And if you want to check out anything else, say some of our old school episodes, audio episodes, or videos, you can check everything out by going to linktree.com/Gamers for Life. The number 4 Life is our one-stop shop link to all of those things. And here at the Games for Life podcast, we read the news while you can watch or listen to what you choose by clicking on the links of the time code within the description of the episode, so you know what's going on, and you can just listen to or watch what you want specifically, or you can just hang out with us here at the Gamers for Life podcast. And speaking of some things going on, I have an update from our fantasy draft for the Gamers for Life. It's our first one here for the show, and some things are happening. So previously, Arthur was off to a good start with leading the way, but that the reins has been taken by Church himself with Octopath Traveler. It has an open critic score of 86, meaning he has 16 points there. And then Like a Dragon Ishin, it's leaning around 80 on open critic. So right now he's leading the way with 26 points, and he has Destiny Lightfall's out next week as well. So it's crazy. He's coming up pretty quickly. Arthur at 18 points. Atomic Heart, which we'll talk about later in the show, it's got a 74. So you got 4 points there. And Hogwarts Legacy staying strong at 14 points, 18 points there. I got the good old 0 because my awesome games aren't out yet. But how does it feel, Church, to be leading the way when Arthur was leading the first 2 weeks?
First of all, I like to thank God.
I like to thank my main man.
Got Jesus the DJ Christ. Khaled swag going on.
No.
Yo, God did.
God did. Exactly. I like to thank Arthur for keeping the seat warm. No, man, it feels good. I mean, Arthur had a good lead with Hogwarts. Surprising lead with Hogwarts.
Surprisingly good lead. I'm still happy. Hey, yeah. You take the reins. You've earned it. I'm just sitting here like, man, he might be injured, but Brock Purdy, you're a pretty cool guy, Hogwarts.
It feels good, man. And I think Lightfall. I'm in a good, I'm gonna go. Lightfall is gonna be good too. And the next couple games, I think I might pull this off, man. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, definitely a good call choosing an expansion part of your fantasy card. Like, I didn't even think of that. I know obviously, Arthur, you have Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, but I didn't and choose anything for mine, but we'll see. See what happens here. But congrats to both of you guys getting some points on the board. Looking forward to Sons of the Forest, which should be, I want to say it should be out next week if I'm not mistaken, but I guess it's the most played game on Steam past Hogwarts right now. So people, I guess, are excited for that. But Hogwarts, 12 million in sales. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. Hey, look here. Who thought? Not me. Not us.
I know, bro.
Not I.
Hating on Harry Potter. Are we adding more games to Fantasy Critics? Because we have the bid feature, by the way.
Yes. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, once there are some new games coming out, then we can start bidding on them. And I think that's how we fill up the rest of our regular card, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, so that will be interesting. We'll see what happens. And speaking of games, you know, that we can potentially look to bid on or whatnot, for the start of this show, the PlayStation State of Play did debut earlier this week. Let me first throw it to Church just to get your thoughts on the State of Play, man. How do you think they did?
I mean, overall, kind of disappointed. Just, I mean, I guess the premise was this is a third party, you know, State of Play, and we're going to do PSVR too. And I think they did brought the stuff that you were interested, and they really tried to sell you on PSVR 2. I don't know your format if you want to just go down the list. But overall,
just overall things, you know, we don't have to hit every game.
Yeah, man. I thought it was mid, right? The PSVR 2 is like, dang, man, like another game coming to PSVR 2 is like it was on PSVR 1 or the Oculus. So it still has my same thoughts. I think Capcom's presence was pretty good. I was excited for that. And I guess the big takeaway from the show was Suicide Squad. And
right.
This is why I'm going to spend my thoughts on it, because it's on my fantasy pick. Right?
There you go. That was the one that I said. That was the one that I said. Fuck you! It ain't coming out this year. So, we gotta talk about it.
I saw a counter pick. I'm like, oh, that wasn't me. Okay, that was Joe. That was
me. That was me.
And he's probably happy right now.
I'm staying strong. Well, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is I'm gonna buy the game. Every game I have on my Fantasy Critic Link is something I'm gonna spend money on. I'm still buy the game. It is, however, not the game I wanted.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, it's a looter shooter. At the end of it, that's what they showed us. It's a looter shooter with a DC skin on it. Inherently, that's not bad. I'm attracted to those type of games. It's very colorful. The traverse and the gameplay, the movement looks fun. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's fun to play. The shooting seems to be not as impactful as I want it to be.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, this seems like Avengers Part 2, you know, Anthem. Yeah. Like, I think the overall takeaway is this is a digital buy for me, because they confirmed that this game does not work offline. Like one of the
live service.
It's a live service game. So I'm like, yo, digital purchase, because as soon as they shut everything down, like the disc is going to be worthless.
Right.
So might as well just buy it like this way. I'm just hoping that the package we get is a complete experience of a story. And if we get bonus missions at the end or additional characters, it's just icing on the cake. I don't have faith in the later part of the game series just because of what I've seen with Anthem, Marvel's Avengers. The support afterwards has just always been terrible. I really can't think of a successful one after Destiny 2. And that started off on a bad note. Like, I don't know if this gaming model works in a way where players are happy with the product. You know, the companies may be happy with the wallets, but I don't know if the product for the gamers is ever... What is a successful one? I can't tell you outside of Destiny. And that's, you know, that's a golden egg, I guess so. But it looks good. I like the character animations. It looks beautiful. I think it has that Rocksteady quality in terms of, like, you know, the cutscenes and the graphics. Let's see if the gameplay holds that, because like Arkham Knight is very in depth. I played that game this fall. It's like the details I went into it. I'm expecting something very similar with Suicide Squad. I just hope they deliver on that front. My last thoughts on it would be what was it? it escapes me. I'm kind of curious about like the addition of characters they're going to add into it, man.
Yeah.
But I'm worried because the internet is toasting it. They're flaming it up. They don't want the battle pass. They don't want the store. I'm like, I don't want it either, man. Like, I need to win. So I need this to be like the best version. Like how Overwatch had like the best version of loot boxes. I need this to be the best version of a looter shooter. You know, and maybe that's a hot take, but I think Overwatch had the best version of loot boxes. But
okay. What about you, Arthur? What are your thoughts on the state of play?
Give it to me.
From the outside looking in, as a guy, as somebody who does on a Sony console, I'm half interested in the VR2. I liked it in terms of a pass fail. Gets a pass. If I had to do a grade, C plus B minus asterisk, because one of the things I was going to say that I liked coming off our last conversation was a lot of the PSVR 2 games. However, because I don't have my ear to the ground as much with the VR2 stuff, I did not know until Church said that a lot of the games debuted are just ports from the VR1 to the VR2. And again, this being Sony does not have to do upgrades. How much will it cost? Is it, again, do people have to pay for the game twice? Is it a director's cut? You know what I mean? Of course, the director's cut quotations me being a knock at Death Stranding, where, you know, the famous director's cut. Kojima saying, yeah, there's nothing new about this game. Why are they calling it director's cut? I'm the director. It's not a director's cut.
Right.
But so that was one thing, again, unknowingly I liked about the VR2 stuff. So I didn't know a lot of that was from the port. Overall I liked it. One of the things for me that I thought was interesting was Baldur's Gate. So for people that don't remember about Baldur's Gate, this game's been out there for a while. Remember, the early access, like alpha, beta thing, whatever version it was, I forget. I didn't play it. That was in 2020. So that was 2 years ago. Now, at launch or like at early access, it was buggy, and a lot of people were not a fan of it. But same time, they're saying game, like, it was weird because I was hearing people trash it for the things they don't like, but then people praising it for the things they loved. I mean, I heard like people saying this is unplayable to this is potentially one of the best RPGs in years. So I
fixed a lot of the problems, yeah.
And that's the thing, because that's my thing, because now you know, with, you know, Battlefield and the other AAA games, when I hear alpha or beta a month before launch, I'm like, oh, you're just giving us a demo and you're calling it a beta. That's a demo. You're not going to fix this 4 weeks before launch. But that was back in 2020. So it sounds like a lot of this stuff's being fixed. I liked it. My short version thoughts on Suicide Squad, I'll go more into it. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it, because Arkham City to me is one of the best, like, top 10 games ever made.
Arkham's amazing.
On Arkham Asylum's right there with it. Arkham Asylum is right there with it.
Yeah.
That was one of the few sequels. That was one of the few sequels where they took what you love and just gave me more of it. I love the map of Asylum. I love the lore of it. That's one of the few times where I love to read all the pickups, all the find memes, all the collectibles. And Arkham City just boom, multiplied it. I never played Knight. I will say, here's my joke with Arkham Knight and Joel. You and I were both there during GameStop. Do you think they're going to have a quote unquote original DC character never made before? I still forget they actually got sued, because I remember the literally Game Informer issue where they're saying an original, never before seen DC character will be in Arkham Knight. Spoiler: it's Red Hood. So I forget if that lawsuit had any traction. I am on the fence about this, because at face value, it has all the ticks I like: cooperative, XP,
yes,
sort of classes in the sense the character differences. But my thing is, I'm not sure if I want that in the Arkhamverse, because I didn't play Arkham Knight. Arkham City was such its like own thing. It was just like a really good single player. There were gear, but it wasn't like loot. There was, you know, experience, but it really wasn't like classes. And they just nailed the way they did it. So the fact they're straying so far from what we've come to know and love, it's Church absolutely has a point of looter shooters have a big problem of sticking to late game. Victor and I loved the Division 2 until late game. The Division 2 for me is a great looter shooter cooperative class-based game. We loved it until they had a new big baddie villain 2.0 come in, and we thought they were going to expand the map because the map is like all fog of war grayed out. Turns out no. Woof. Every base you cleared, every area you cleared out, boom, now it gets taken over, do it all again. And now it's harder. We stopped playing. We're like, I was immediately, Victor and I were on the same level. We're like, I don't want to do this again. Because that's exactly what it was. Every outpost just got retaken over by new enemies. Anthem couldn't do it. Outriders, I praise Outriders. I liked Outriders. One of the few Game Pass games I definitely bought because I loved it. Again, no, I am in the category I did like a lot more than other people. Still had a problem with late game. I'm not the biggest fan of Destiny. However, no, it's popular. We'll get more into that. So again, that being said, for me, when I saw like that jumping, shooting, dashing vibe, I got Fortnite vibes. I was like, oh, are they building? We're just jumping down. We're just jumping, shooting to the side. It just felt like, again, a thing that I'm not saying will be bad. I'm just still nervous of whether I want that in the Arkhamverse because they confirmed it. This is in the Arkhamverse. This is 5 years after Arkham Knight. So that's my concern. If all these boxes I normally love to tick, I don't know if I like them being ticked in the same category, in the same verse as Arkham City.
Let me jump right back in here real quick. And to the concern is because the rumor was that they were making a Superman game.
Yeah.
Right? And this game takes place in Metropolis. So then there was a shift to Suicide Squad. So how much of this game is really completed? To your point in the Division or maybe even Anthem, like the dream is really cool. Like, yo, if the game is really fun and it continues, and I love the IP attached to it, the DC characters, that's awesome. Keep it going. But like, how often are we repeating the same missions in the game? You know, what is the final boss? What is the end game? Is the loot that we attain to like kick ass in the game a ridiculous grind to get? Is it fail? And then like, what is the post? There's so many questions when it comes to this that like, yeah, the gameplay, it looks fun. I can see it looks fun, but like it's when you finally get into the game, it's like, yo, how much of a grind is this really going to be? And is it rewarding after a point? And there's enough variations to it. I'm concerned. Like I just don't have the answers to that, you know, because it's just all like basically it's like Marvel's Avengers, like the enemy type in that game are robots, and this is Brainiac. These are robots with some type of mutations, but like we'll see what happens.
There's a helicopter, shoot the purple dot. There's a guy, shoot the purple dot. There's a tank, shoot the purple dot. There's a dog, shoot the purple dot. My last thing, Gerald, before I pass on to you is earlier, Church, you talked about how impactful the shooting is. Preston and I immediately jumped on that first gameplay trailer for Arkham Knights of how unimpactful Red Hood's guns looked. Because if you want to talk about impact, I still argue some of them what felt like immersive and impactful combat is the Arkham series.
Wait, like, what are you talking about? Gotham Knight or Arkham Knight? Because Red Hood and Arkham Knight.
No, sorry. The cooperative one, Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knight, okay.
And because Preston and I, because when they first debuted the gameplay trailer for Gotham Knights, that was one of the first things both Preston and I noticed was how unimpactful Red Hood's guns are. It's like he's shooting like in the game, in the lore, he's shooting rubber bullets. But I'm like, okay, but do you have to make it feel like he's only shooting rubber bullets? Whereas again, in terms of like immersive, impactful combat, Arkham City, and I never played it, but Arkham City, the Arkham games is a champion of that. We all know once you get your combo to a certain level and your punches start dealing double damage, you feel it. The enemies fly back more. The timing's there. I didn't really feel that from this. It felt like just shoot till they die, like bullet sponging till they die. So again, it's things I might give a pass elsewhere. I don't know if a lot of people, including me, are gonna give it a pass here. My bad, Joe.
Yeah, especially. Last point, sorry. Especially at the $70 price tag. Go ahead. That's
oh, no worries. No, you guys are cooking. No, so I'm gonna work my way backwards, just so we're on Arkham Knight, and I'll work my way backwards. Okay. So yeah, watching when it comes to the Suicide Squad, because I was able to play all three games, from Arkham Asylum, City, and Knight. A lot of my concerns, I kind of share the same concerns with you guys. One of the things that made Arkham Knight, I think, not the worst of the three, but definitely had a damper on it, is that during the gameplay, I feel like the team kind of got lazy with a lot of the things you do in the game. So, like with Arkham City, you had a bunch of different like bad guys lined up, you know, like for example, like the Mr. Freeze level in Arkham City is incredible. You know, the boss battles with like Killer Croc was amazing. The fight with Clayface and all that stuff from the previous games, just really good stuff. And then also obviously fighting the bad guys and whatnot. But for Arkham Knight, a lot of the issues, or one of the big issues for me, was there was a lot of filler assignments versus like really well thought out different things for you to play as Batman. So like one of the biggest things was the tank battles. There's like a numerous amount of ridiculous tank battles in Arkham Knight. It's just literally busy work. It kind of has nothing to do with the story of the game. It's just, oh, there are these tanks around Gotham City. Take out the tanks. So when I saw tanks in Suicide Squad in that trailer, I kind of got PTSD. I'm like, oh my god, there's tanks. No, please no, they're not doing tanks again. So I do agree as far as for some of the jankiness, as far as like for the gunplay, because when I saw the swinging, I was like, oh, okay, if there's some swinging in the game, like I'm familiar with that from like Arkham Knight. But then when I saw like the third person view like gun thing, I was like, okay, that looks kind of janky to me. I don't know how smooth of experience that's gonna be. Yeah. So I guess I'm worried about how thought out these boss battles and these different things in the game for players to go through, how well thought out it is, because I feel like that was one of the strongest points for the Arkham series. So for Suicide Squad, I do like that it's within the same universe as like of the Arkham series, because I guess it's supposed to be 3 years after Arkham Knight.
5.
But it's a 5? Okay, 5 years after Arkham Knight. But I'm hoping, I'm curious how that story is going to play out. But as far as like when it comes to like the battle pass shit and all that stuff, like it could kill the game, you know? So I'm like, okay, we'll see. Oh, and to me, the game isn't coming out in May. I call bullshit. I think the game's going to be pushed back to September, may possibly be pushed back to 2024. I know it says May 26th. If it does come out May 26th, that's great, because that's 3 days after my birthday. But it's not coming out May 26th. People are
like, we saw gameplay. Yeah, been there, done that. Done that, my guy.
I just don't believe it. I just think it's going to be pushed back to a degree. But so tracking backwards, I want to talk about some of the things that struck out to me. Street Fighter 6, I think it does look pretty good. You know, and obviously some of my fantasy cards, so I want it to do well.
Were those 2 new characters in the trailer?
I believe so, because I've never seen them before.
No, only one. Only one was new.
Was the one new? Okay.
No, here's the thing, real quick. One was a new character. The other was Cammy, which is with a different look. Instead of that sleek, supposedly controversial green unitard, now she has like a not super revealing thong.
So Arthur wants to see more ass on Cammy.
I'm just saying there's multiple. Like I follow multiple cosplayers, and sometimes every time that character's cosplay comes up, there's reasons why I can't open up. There's a reason why I can't open up Instagram in public anymore. I'm like, oh, it's a cosplayer. I swear, it's a cosplayer.
Well, I like the new character. Is the new character Lily? Is that the one? Lily? Yeah. She's cool. I like her.
I took notes. Yes.
So yeah, I think it's going to do well, especially like if they have any like Evo. I'm sure they're going to have like an Evo tournament or something this year. So I know Sony owns that technically. So I think that'll be a win for Street Fighter, for them to have Street Fighter. I think when it comes to now, the funny thing is that Mortal Kombat 12, they did announce that it's coming out this year. So I think for players like me, where they can kind of dip between the two, you know, that might potentially be a little bit of a damper. As far as people maybe going to Mortal Kombat versus going to Street Fighter, but I think you're gonna have a lot of players playing both, and then obviously those folks that are hardcore Street Fighter fans, you know, I think it'll be fine as far as for the game. So, but yeah, overall the game is looking good. I know there's a lot of like just kind of like things making fun of like the logo because it was basically like a template of fucking Adobe.
It was the
You know
basic
what?
Adobe font.
I ain't gonna let you slide because you got that on your fantasy critic, man. In terms of Street Fighter Six, I think. How do you think the single player would be in Street Fighter? Because I think that's what's going to drop the score, and I think I'm going to counterpit Street Fighter Six against you because
You already counterpicked Armor Core.
because here's my justification, man. I think the single player campaign component is going to drop it. Because do we expect the single player experience in Street Fighter Six to be better than what Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11 has done? That's the golden standard when it comes to these fighting games. Like in terms of storytelling, like what do we expect from that open world? Go to this dojo and fight somebody. Like, do we expect that experience to be better than Mortal Kombat? Like, what?
I think you have a point. However, my consensus has been is that a lot of hardcore Street Fighter fans, they don't really care about the single player, and they know that Mortal Kombat single player is better, but the actual, like the standard fighting with Street Fighter, that's what people care about. So I don't know if that's going to impact the score necessarily. If the fighting is good, obviously the fighting mechanics are trash, then everything's fucked, right?
God forbid that you have to play the single. God forbid you have to play the single player experience to unlock characters.
Oh,
trash.
Dude, if you have to,
that's very true. They should have that.
Yeah. God forbid.
God forbid. Yes, exactly. No, that's a really good point.
If you have to beat the game to unlock like the Fortnite model of Chun-Li in Street Fighter 6, I'm about to diamond that game.
Arthur got a platinum and he has an Xbox. I don't understand it.
I'm just saying. There's one thing that Street Fighter will never let you down, and that's called character models.
I appreciate them sticking to their roots. That's all.
Yeah, but no, that is a good point as far as like how well is a single player, like, and as far as just, because that could very well be a damper, especially if you are unlocking characters. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Oh, you could pay $30 to unlock everybody.
Yeah. Which people do, even though like I'm a hardcore gamer, like I'm like against that. I'm like, no, you have to earn everything you play and you earn it. But yeah, people are like, don't give a fuck anymore. It's like $30, got you.
I think $10 to $15 for a character. I don't know the price. I'm willing to pay more for an additional character in a fighting game because it is very impactful for the overall experience. It's just, I think it's worth more of the money. But that's just me. So
yeah, I miss Injustice, by the way. I would love to see an Injustice game. Injustice is fucking.
I'm gonna chime in with they're absolutely 100% gonna have first sale characters. Like there's not a fighting game right now that I can think of. I mean, like when the new Smash has like viable characters, I'm like, Smash Nintendo. I mean, okay. I mean, we got buy the Piranha Plant. Oh, okay. I mean,
yeah.
So, but with
the Piranha Plant was free. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, sorry, the other ones.
Got him.
Thank you, but I know there's our Smash characters you can buy now.
Yeah,
so
right, yeah.
I actually kind of forgot it was open world. And that being said, I mean, we got gameplay of a fight. What's the open world going to look like? We didn't get that.
They've showed it. You create your own character. You have this little Tokyo area that you explore, and then you just go around doing fights in the middle of the street. And it looks kind of cool, but I'm like, I wonder how much they're going to expand upon it.
Yeah.
And then you have a hub world, which is your main menu. So you log into your hub world, and you sit down and is it arcade sticks, Jarrell, that you sit down?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of neat. It's kind of like
that's cool.
BBC Fighters, they have a similar thing going on. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one last thing with Street Fighter 6 because remember it's devote Street Fighter 6 fans with an asterisk. Sony devote Street Fighter characters because it's a console. It's an exclusive. If it's a Sony, it's a Sony exclusive. Or if it's for other consoles, it did not list at the bottom. I even noted that. It did not say Xbox One at the bottom.
I'm pretty sure if anything, it might be timed, but I don't think it's a Sony exclusive.
Because that was one thing I was curious about. Because at the last, the last frame when there's like
they'll say the platforms, right?
Because when there's like the movie equivalent of PG-13, you see all the little small writing stuff. Yeah. For the game, it shows at the bottom all the consoles coming out for it. It only said PS4, PS5.
Yeah, I think it's just timed. I would imagine because like even most of the prior Street Fighter games were on Xbox as well, but usually Sony tends to have a leg up.
I don't think the last one was there.
Because like Street Fighter versus Tekken was on 5. There. Street Fighter 4, I think 4 was 4 on Xbox.
No. 5 was exclusive.
Yeah, 5 because if 5 was exclusive, that one. No.
Yeah, but this one's for all consoles. I mean,
okay, so it might be it might be a time thing, but like I said, I just remember the last card, PS4, PS5.
Yeah. I think my last note on the State of Play, since I'm working backwards as far as for VR, I feel like it's a lot of the conversation that we had from the last episode, right? As far as just you're paying almost the price of another PlayStation 5, and you're getting a port machine, and it's exactly what Church talked about last episode as far as like he wants an immersive PlayStation experience, like have some in-depth well-developed games for the VR, but I feel like they're kind of doing more of the same, versus like they have this plan, they have this vision, this plan of this amazing high technology experience, but they're not there from a physical, like an actual sense of where they're at. So you have ports, you have things that are from other consoles, you have all this stuff, but it's like, I paid almost a second PlayStation 5's worth of money for this experience. Like what is the, like how much is the investment going to be? You know what I mean, for this? So I don't know, man. I'm a little weary about it. I'm kind of getting old school Sony bullshit vibes as far as just like, this seems to be cool right now, but are you really going to lean onto this and expand onto this? Because they already talked about plans for the PC as far as like, we want half of PlayStation's catalog to be on PC by 2025, and it's like, okay, so what's your plans for VR though? It's like, why do I know more about the PC plans for Sony than I know about PlayStation VR that just came out? Like, I think obviously it's smart for the State of Play to show games a day after the release of the VR. I think that's very smart. For what I saw, I wasn't really impressed. Really, I mean, there's a couple of games that seemed kind of fun, but I don't know. I mean, I know, Church, you're definitely the first of us probably that are really considering jumping the gun and getting a PSVR 2. I mean, what were your I guess you just talked about your thoughts, but I mean, is that, I guess just to ask you that, is that still the case? You're still planning to get a VR 2?
It's still the case to get one. But it's not on the point where I would recommend anybody to go out to get one. There's nothing, and that's what's concerning, because we have these ports, which could be great games, but and I get that your headset is technically better than the competitors, the power, the 4K, the HDR, whatever, right? But what's on the horizon besides Horizon, right? So I don't know how you plan to support it in the future. And that's kind of my problem with Sony right now overall. I don't know what is on the horizon in the portfolio that's coming out. But PSVR 2 is just like, okay, I got it, but what next? Is this a PSP Vita that is not really supported, but the people that got it have these niche indie games,
right,
like Europa, that really loved it while it was going? I don't know, but I'm willing to shell it out and just report back to see if it's worth it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Then, yeah.
There's a few more things on State of Play I want to talk about, because remember, with E3, with the future of E3 being who knows / canceled, we're gonna get used to like more conferences like this. There are a few things I want to mention that I did like from it that I thought were worth mentioning. There's one game I don't want us to ignore. So the other thing I wanted to mention, Jarrell, you have Sons of the Forest, right? Was I the only one who thought that game they were showing was Sons of the Forest, and then surprised it was Green Hill? I thought it was gonna be the Forest, the VR, and it was called the Green Hill game.
Oh, you thought it was Sons of the Forest?
I thought it was because I thought it was the Forest. The assets were nearly identical. I thought they were about to do Sons of the Forest on PSVR 2.
I didn't see any monsters, so that's why I didn't think it was Sons of the Forest.
There's another game I talked about. Church. We talk. You were talking about one of the benefits, one of the pluses to getting into VR2 is its innovation, its advancement. I still think a game, the concept blows my mind. Before your eyes, the game where you blink and the game recognizes it. That's the type of game I do.
A whole different scenario. That seemed pretty interesting.
That's the type of game I want to see on. That's the type of game I do want to see in the PSVR 2, because yes, it again there's a port, but they say it's supposed to be the most immersive port yet. Like you're going to see things or experience the game differently on the PSVR 2, and again, so when it comes to innovation, though I may joke on Sony a lot, I was happy to see that this game before your eyes, because I still think it blows my mind. Like, again, I'm an Xbox guy. I can imagine playing an Xbox, and every time I blink, the game recognizes it and changes it. So I'm really curious to see how that does. And Church, if you get that game on the PSVR 2 before your eyes, please let me know how that goes. I really want to know.
Yeah,
I want to see more on that.
Definitely. I'm gonna go on the store and get the top 2 list of PSVR and just let you guys know.
Yeah, man.
Probably a dance game for my lady. How do you guys feel about Wayfinder?
Is that like the Star Trek looking one?
No, it was like the tank support Keldor. It was more like, was it like World of Words looking a little bit?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That looked pretty cool. That looked kind of cool.
Yeah,
I dug that one. I thought you were talking about the other one with like where you had they showed you with like a phaser or whatever, and
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I moved from the VR games a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Wayfinder was that like cooperative. It was like that cooperative game. One thing I didn't know about Wayfinder, and something I'll kind of note, something else I want to talk about before he goes. I know drill, but one thing I want to talk about is the PlayStation Plus. Outside looking in, I was happy we started to see it. We started to see more phrases we ever heard before, which is on PlayStation Plus. Now that being said, the note I have for this game, Wayfinder, is this is a game that should be on PlayStation Plus. Because for me as a Game Pass guy, the most memory, this just feels like a game that would be like hit the nail on the head and be right there on Game Pass.
So
all surprised
see, this is God. I didn't want to get into this, but I think.
Okay. Because the reason I mentioned PlayStation Plus is because there was a game I did like. Mm-hmm. Which is Tichnia, which is to me was like the Nintendo version of Raft, the game Raft, and it did end with coming day one to PlayStation Plus. Yeah. So I know they have leaps and bounds still to go.
Yeah,
but I think we've been talking about a lot more if it wasn't mentioned at all at this conference. Yeah, no, the reason why I twitched the way I did is because I'm just annoyed with Sony and their model for PlayStation Plus, because they're already they had an announcement where they're like, oh, there's these games that are coming out to PlayStation Plus, and they're like 3 years old. You know what I mean? Like they're catching, they're catching up on their fucking catalog and having some decent fucking games on PlayStation Plus. So as far as to incorporate, something as like similar to Game Pass, where you're releasing these big games and then, hey, it's available on Game Pass, so like they're like Microsoft already has the ecosystem, and obviously it's a different diatribe. Like they don't have the cachet and all that stuff that Microsoft has. So like Sony's kind of in their own little corner, but when it comes to PlayStation Plus and these new games, I just feel like they shouldn't try to copy what Microsoft does, just because they're already behind. They're already behind. We just want good games for Sony. So I think they just need to focus on that, and who knows, maybe PlayStation Plus will eventually turn into something that people will that will be enticed to get more so. But that's my 2 cents on the matter. But and then one more game, I just would feel bad if we don't mention it all. Reasonable for Remake looks amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, if remakes were available for our Vanity draft, I mean, I would definitely draft it.
Oh, Church tried. I was like,
that's
no,
right. That's right.
I did. I was like,
right.
Yo,
you're like, yo, where were we on a remakes?
There was other stuff we kind of let slide. I'm like, oh, that's an import, whatever. But I was like, dude, you can't pick on your fantasy draft the remake of one of the top 10 games ever made. No.
One of the best games in the past 20, 30 years. Yeah.
I was like, no.
But you understand why I did it.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, of course. We're like,
of course we understand why you did it. Like, that's why we're like, nah.
It might be one of the best remakes. Like, it might be one of the best game remakes ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's kind of insane. It looks so fucking good. So,
it's been a while since I played the game. Anything from the trailer that's different from the original game that kind of hinted that it's going to change a little bit. They did a lot of the scenes from the end of the game. Yeah. I just don't know if it's like any difference. I didn't have
a good question.
Like some like note on YouTube, like, oh, this comparison video is different from like the GameCube version.
Yeah, no,
but it looks amazing. I love the character models. The lighting looks amazing. It looks great. I can't wait to get back into it. It's going to be like a day one buy for me, definitely. You know.
Yeah. I'll have to buy it on Steam.
Like Capcom's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, very much so.
They finally have dodge. As much as Resident Evil 4 is deservedly one of the like top games ever made, I will absolutely recognize that. Resident Evil 4 was one of the games I slowly switched from quick paced action shooters like Medal of Honor to slower paced RPGs because as a concept. And let me explain it a little bit more. Mind you, I'm used to like D-Day Normandy missions. If you're telling me like why I never played like Final Fantasy, was because it's turn based. Because I don't open a can of worms, but the concept of there's a dragon. Oh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna let it attack us. What? No, it's the dragon's turn. After the dragon attacks, then we attack because the dragon knows it's our turn. That conceptually didn't make sense, and that's why it took me forever to get on top of turn-based games. I thought it was the stupidest concept. Like, there's a giant spider. Let it go first. What? No, it has to go first. It's its turn. So the flip side of that, for the shooter version, Resident Evil 4, he's a cop turned agent who's so qualified and well known. He was picked by the president by name to rescue his daughter. Cool. He's a great agent. Hey, can he like run and shoot at the same time? No. What? No, he's a really good agent, but he can't run and shoot at the same time. So it took me a really long time to start to play and even like Resident Evil 4, because from the way people are telling me to it, again, story-wise is great, but again, conceptually, I'm playing D-Day Normandy, running and gunning, killing Nazis, to, this guy can't dodge, he can't shoot and reload. If he wants to shoot, he has to stop and shoot, because that's what elite soldiers are known for, stop and shooting and not running while gunning. So I will say, when I saw that dodge mechanic in the game, I was like, oh my god, they did it in Resident Evil 4. You can actually move the upper half of your body.
Yeah, traditionally in Resident Evil games, controls were usually super off, right? Back in the day, it was like backwards, like directional button controlling and shit like that. So we've come a long way.
Dude, I just think it's hilarious that Leon can like finally move his upper half. Like, oh my god, he was able to do Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 6 is his own thing. But again, as much as deservedly, Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games ever made. It took me it was a hard sell for me at the time, because I was in the Call of Duties, the fast paced shooters. All of a sudden it's like, he doesn't dodge, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. I'm like, that guy's stupid. Like, you know what I mean? So I just thought it was awesome when I saw Resident Evil 4 remake and he can dodge. I thought that was like an awesome thing for me.
Strafe, if you will. Strafe. Yeah, definitely. Well, so sticking to PlayStation, specifically PlayStation IPs that are on HBO, Last of Us, in episode 6 came out, obviously, as the most recent one. And a pretty solid episode. However, I feel like it is going to be... This next episode, the episode after this, is going to be a huge testament to the series, but I'll stick with episode 6. As far as just for my thoughts on the episode, I thought it was really good. Definitely showed some great acting chops from Pedro Pascal, and then obviously the relationship of Ellie and Joel. Really seeing that connection. That connection of just kind of seeing where one, she's kind of becoming more not self-aware, but just from the things that Joel taught her, keeping watch and all that stuff, being aware, being able to kind of handle her own, she's slowly but surely getting into that notion. And then obviously one of the biggest parts of the episode of finding Tommy, same as Tommy, right? Tommy, is his brother. And then that whole storyline, right, of him, having a fucking family, the kid and everything. I think my favorite scene, which is sorry, a plane's flying over my head. But one of my favorite scene was just really him kind of confessing to Tommy as far as just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I need your help, and him kind of discussing just like him freezing and being afraid and whatnot, and just really giving a class A performance. Pedro Pascal, talking to Tommy after they had that last argument in the bar where was saying, I'm gonna have a kid. He's like, well, I hope you're gonna be a good dad. And I was like, God damn, Joel, what the fuck? But and then obviously it's mirroring the sentiments of the game as far as he gets hurt, so Joel's fucked up by the end of the episode. But I thought the episode was great, but I'm really worried about the next episode. That's kind of where it left me. That's where it left me, because I was like, okay, based on the previews, which I won't discuss, but it seems like they're going into the notion of they're going to go into the DLC, the Left Behind DLC, right? So we saw that from the previews, which makes sense, especially because you have 4 additional episodes where we got to figure out what to do with the show. But then also you're going to get a hint of how Ellie will be solo, which will be a big testament to how people will potentially feel about the next season of The Last of Us. But those are kind of my thoughts. What were your thoughts, Church?
Sorry. I took a bite of a chip. I apologize for my etiquette.
No worries.
So it is as I feel. It was okay. The episode number 6. I felt like
what?
I know. And they were building. They went so fast for the emotional buildup for things. I felt like a lot of things happened. I don't know if I really cared about the connection of like Pedro and Ellie. Oh, I forget the actress's name.
Oh, Bella Ramsey.
Bella. Yeah, I didn't believe it, man. I felt like, we escaped Kansas City the previous week, and then now we're here, and now we're just going through the phases. I feel like if they spent one more episode in town or in the woods trying to really connect, I could have felt for them more characters a little bit more. They're just moving at a rapid pace. And I don't think it's unfaithful to the source material. I didn't felt that connection just with the amount of episodes we have. And that could be with the episode 2, or was it episode 3 where we just had Bill, not enough time with the main character, so to speak. It could be what they're doing in the next episode, where they're deciding to go the DLC route, where it's like, okay, now we're over here again for some reason.
Yeah.
I wish they had more time to build that relationship, to have like that final moment. I think the town looked amazing. I'm glad they built real sets. It looked phenomenal. I like Tommy. I like Tommy's wife. I like the Pedro's like, man, I've been going through hell and back to try to get to you, brother. And you over here in this bar drinking whiskey, falling in love, and having a baby. And she's the reason why he didn't use the radio to tell him anything, right? So he's emotionally distraught because I'm happy to see my brother. I don't know who this woman is. And at the same time, she's the reason why I couldn't connect to my brother. She's the reason why he even met Ellie in the first place, why he was looking for the battery in the truck, to find him. So I think that was cool. It kind of led to that moment. I love the interaction with Ellie and Tommy's wife inside the house, where she's trying to warn her, and Ellie's showing her like, I'm not as slow as you think I am.
Right.
At the same time. And I did like the moment where like Pedro's like, yo, I think you deserve a choice. And she's like, let's go. It gives him the bag. I love it. That was a cool moment. I was like, yeah, that's the Ellie I know.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad episode. I wish it hit me more impactful a little bit. But I think gamers and fans of it are going to love it.
Yeah.
Especially that intense emotional scene
Yeah.
in the middle of the episode.
Definitely. What do you think, Arthur?
I wish I knew more people who are not gamers that are watching this show, because I really want to know what they think. Because me, I'm loving it. Like I love this. I love this episode. We finally went from old man Joel to like a little bit of buddy Joel. Like, a little bit of buddy. He's your buddy.
Yeah.
Like I said, Church said that great tension dynamic of, you feel you make a choice. Let's go, my guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was such a good, just these little moments. And dude, when she was like verbally holding her own, talking to Tommy's wife, you know what Joel's done? Yeah, he's killed people. So was Tommy. So was your husband. So was your baby daddy. You know what I mean? Like, so I thought because Ellie's a kid. So when she's like, when she's this kid kind of just, holding on against this adult who's trying to warn her that, like, hey, you're trying with a murderer. You're married to a murderer. Okay, we gonna play that game? Let's go.
Yeah.
I just thought
it's kind of like the wall went up, almost like when Joel first met Ellie. You know what I mean? It's like that wall goes up, defense mechanism. Yeah.
And I like that because we got to see more of like how Ellie isn't just some like goofy little sidekick child he's traveling with. Like that, those are the reactions you get from a child that's been raised in an apocalypse. Like, I mean, like the scene where when they're talking about his daughter Sarah, he's like, dope. And she was like, hey, look around, dude. This is the apocalypse. You think you're the only guy that knows someone that's died? Welcome to the club. You know what I mean? And like, again, that's again, because that is a character of Ellie. She's just not some like kid that was sheltered her whole life. That was like, here's the world. Yeah, she's seeing like pools for the first time and working cars for the first time and monkeys for the first time. But she has grown up. She was born in this world that Joel was thrusted upon. And I like that we got to see a little bit more of that, because those are the types of reactions and dialogue and script you get from a character, again, that was arguably born into this world, versus a character like Joel that was thrusted into it. I do wish we got more of the town. I did like it, and I have a question, and it is related to the show, but I have a question again, spoiler for an old game. The town that we see now, is this the same town that's in the sequel, Last of Us Part 2, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, same one, right?
Okay. I wasn't sure, because again, I've only seen these games through playthroughs, but like when I say that, I was like in the background of me playing Fallout or something, like, oh, they got to that part, you know what I mean? So I was able to know if these were for sure the same towns. Okay, that's good, because I like Church said, I want to see more of this town, but I'm thinking, okay, we know it's been greenlit for season 2. I want them to come back. And I'm like, okay, story wise, okay, cool, this is the town. But again, I loved it that we got to see Buddy Joel and Ellie versus old man stoic Joel trying to hit everything. I was a fan of it.
Yeah.
Now, the pacing, I kind of agree with, but again, this is why I just feel like to a point, almost every video game adaptation writes itself into a hole. Almost every single one. Again, how do you get 30 plus 40 plus hours of gameplay into 9 hours? And you got to trim the fats. You have to trim the fats somewhere. And again, that's just so. Whereas it's like, for me, it's this catch-22 where I feel like that criticism is absolutely valid, but again, it's like they wrote themselves into a hole. The same way I don't really jump at the bit for prequel shows, because it removes tensions for me. Like, this guy might die. Like, I know for a fact he doesn't die here. Why are we showing 20 minutes of a guy almost dying when we know he's not going to die? So when it gets into like writer, again, they write themselves into a hole, in this case, write themselves into a condensed version. That's where I'm mixed with it when it comes to the pacing.
See, I don't know if I agree that they wrote themselves into a hole. I think at least I don't agree yet. I think when it comes to this next 2 episodes, I think I might have a different opinion. But I mean, I think there was a lot here. Like there, especially when it comes to, Tommy he we have to remember that like Joel's like ex-military, right? So even though that he has a history of killing even before this pandemic happened, and Tommy might be ex-military too, but it affected Tommy in a way where he's trying to really get out of that. And that's kind of one of the things that I liked about the episode too, was where it's like, look, I can't keep doing this thing of just kind of moseying around killing people that are infected, quote unquote. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't do that. I want a normal life. You know what I mean? I want what you had, almost, in a sense. You know what I mean? So it's like, I kind of understand. I kind of liked that, I guess, that potential conflict that, Tommy had, and then that, Joel's kind of like struggling with, and things of that nature. Then obviously he kind of opens up to him on his notion of where he's at, so I think there was a lot to work with here. As far as for pacing, obviously, I guess it could, it's subjective. It could be, maybe it could have been better, whatnot, but I thought there was a lot to juggle pretty well with this episode. But again, I'm kind of worried about this next episode. Like, I know they're going to dive into the Left Behind DLC. You're going to really start exploring, at least from if they follow the DLC, you're going to start exploring Ellie's sexuality. And then they're supposed to introduce Dina from Last of Us Part 2, who's supposed to be, Ellie's lover. So that should be interesting. But the main worry, that's not the worry that I have, though. The worry is the actual pacing, and the worry is dealing with Ellie as the main character, like, for that episode, because I don't think Joel's going to be in the next episode. I don't think so. I think he's going to be lying on the bed or something. You know what I'm saying? So I think most of the episode is going to be Ellie. So to Church's point, as far as like, hey, how well do I connect with this character? This is going to be a definitely it's definitely going to be critical to the future of the Last of Us series. I think we're really going to see that this next episode. So I'm not saying that Bella Ramsey is not capable of doing that, but depending on how the episode is written and shot, and how they merge all of that shit together, I'm very curious to see how the episode will be. So we'll see. But I think this next episode is going to be the riskiest episode they've made since episode 3. And episode 3, obviously, they killed it, right? Because they went slightly off script. They tried something new, and it was great. This one, they're kind of adding components, and they're potentially trying something new. This is going to be the big risk. So we'll see how episode 7 is. I feel like it's going to be a very mixed bag, but we'll see. That's kind of my worry there. So, any lasting thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of curious why they're doing this next episode in the placement. Where it's at. This almost feels like an episode that should have been like between seasons, almost like a Doctor Who Christmas special.
Right.
Just like, hey, just release it afterwards, for the fans. Because it kind of kills the momentum that we kind of have at the ending of this episode 6. And then, yeah, those are my final thoughts. I mean, I have the same concerns. I'm not really worried about Ellie's sexuality. It's just weird because it's like, it's a flashback, but like, do we care about these characters that we're about to see? As an audience member, I feel like I would be more engaged in what's happened to Joel as opposed to seeing these characters in this flashback that we're not going to see in the next episode after that, right? Because we play the game. It's just like it's a weird placement, but maybe it works. I don't know.
Yeah, so, that's true. That's a good point to make too. As far as, because when you have so many characters, when you're introducing so many characters, and you're like care about these people when like you've been with Joel, like if I had on screen time with Joel for hours, you know what I mean? So it's like you're very invested in him. You're obviously invested in Ellie. You're seeing these other characters that you are going to see later, but it's like, is it going to be enough? And is it going to make sense? That definitely is warranted. Definitely a good point there. And last show. Oh, go ahead.
It's a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah,
so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I just the thing is with me with Ellie kind of holding her own. I'm looking forward to the challenge because I think Bella Ramsey can do it. I think just more of like how they frame it, how they set the foundation for her. Mainly because I know clearly the DLC stuff, but I want to see that part of the game where she's again that part of the game, where she's by herself. Again, spoiler for like an X. Put this way, the game's so old they remade it. They remastered it twice. Okay, so I'm just saying. The countable part. I want to see that section because that section of the game where she's solo, I thought in the terms of the game, I thought they killed it, and I want to see them. I want to see them kind of do that with this. And what?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it should be.
And I'm looking forward to that because in terms of like we all have our favorite things, but if you're to like list me, like, hey, what's my kind of the top 3 adaptations or moments or sequences I want to see in this show, in no potential order, the Ellie going solo with the Cannibal Group thing, that'll be right up there in my top 3 of things I want to see in the show and how they do, and with Bella Ramsey, because that type of like bravado and type of seriousness to a point that she's done before in Game of Thrones. She was still one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones. So that's a sequence that's for me. I'm excited. I'm hyped more of because that was a great sequence for me in the game to watch. So I'm excited for them to see how they do it in this. And again, so far from the major sequences, from their take on Bill to the brothers, to their tweak with Tess, again, flying colors compared to the last couple of years collectively. Sonic 1, Sonic 2, beautiful asterisk. But compared to most adaptations, again, still knocking out the park, still killing it.
Yeah, definitely. I selfishly wanted to go into a game that was on Arthur's fantasy card and / something that I've been playing, Atomic Heart. Did you before I go off of just kind of my thoughts on the game? Have you guys played it at all on Game Pass?
No, I haven't had the chance yet.
I downloaded it, and then a snowstorm came, and a lot of my time outside of work was preoccupied.
So I know there's no worries. So I know there's kind of there's definitely a mixed bag on Atomic Heart as far as just the reviews and whatnot on it. I know there's some technical glitches from when the game launched. I'm playing it on PC, so some of the glitches that I encountered, the first thing was I play on a PC monitor, but my PC monitor supposedly is supposed to be fine with consoles, and there's a VSync mode, so it's opposed to where you don't have any fucking glitching or whatever when you're moving around or whatnot, but that VSync option was blanked out on the Atomic Heart menu. So I was like, yo, where's my fucking VSync? Like, I need that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to manually adjust this shit. So I guess on the interwebs via Reddit, it showed me how to do it. So I had to go through like the NVIDIA control panel, add program, add Atomic Heart, and then add the VSync in the back door and playing it. But as far as the gameplay, man, it's definitely one of the more exciting first-person shooter experiences that I've had in a long time. Everything is very in-game. It reminds me of BioShock and Total Recall. It has
it's not a BioShock type game. The developers are still confused why we keep calling it a BioShock game.
it's you know what's funny when you play it, I really like the design of the game too. Obviously, there's a few things that are maybe similar, slight BioShock Infinite-ish, but it definitely has its own thing to it. It definitely has its own feel to it. But yeah, everything's very in-game. So like, there's some really great moments. Like, there's one moment where like just shit is going crazy, and there's like this older lady that's like, get the fuck back, and she has this gun, and she's like, just shoot, you fucking idiot, and it's like the 70-year-old lady like just like handling shit, and you're like, what the fuck's going on, and like stuff's crashing down. But the graphics are really dope. graphics are really good, and it's just really engaging. You know, like I'm fighting off robots and shit, and like there's just really neat design choices that just remind me of like an 80s action movie. Like I feel like I'm Arnold, like, you know, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger just like fighting off these people trying to get away and whatnot. So it definitely reminds me of like an 80s sci-fi action movie, which is kind of cool. To me, the downsides to it, I feel like it has this plot notion where it's that plot notion we talk about constantly, Arthur, where like we know that like someone is the bad guy and they write it like
really?
it's like the Flash, where it's like, you know, the professor's in the chair and it's like, hi, I'm not the bad guy. I didn't start this whole thing from the beginning, you know, and it's like, you clearly did. It's like, you know, like,
Hey,
we're like
kids,
watching
you want
it.
to come in my van? I got puppies.
Yeah,
I'm a
so
nice guy.
It's kind of like, because there's this professor that I guess has been like under you, you've been mentored for years. It's like, oh, he saved my life, and like, you know, all this shit happens under this guy's watch, and he's giving you these, you know, these objectives to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, bro, obviously this guy's the fucking bad guy. And you have this AI that's talking to you throughout the game or whatnot. But so that's a little annoying because it's like, obviously this guy's fucking bad guy. But anyway, the other thing that's annoying is kind of the voice acting, I think, because it's like, this guy's Russian. You play as a Russian guy, Sergey something, but he sounds very American. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I wonder if it's just one of those American things where it's like, where, and correct me if I'm wrong, when it comes to Wolfenstein, right? When you say play BJ Blazkowicz, was he American or was he a German guy? What nationality was he? Because was he a Russian or German dude?
He was nationality in terms of flags, American.
He was American.
In terms of ethnicity, I maybe Germanish, because he was a pretty blonde guy.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? This guy, like, you're not playing an American. You're playing a Russian guy who sounds very fucking American. So that was my other annoying thing, because I was trying to think. I was like, is BJ black? Because I was like, if BJ was like, say, Russian or something, like, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I have an argument here, but if BJ was in fact American, then that's the other issue I have with Atomic Heart, is that you play someone he's a Russian guy, like, he's not American, and he sounds very fucking American. So I'm like, damn, like, so that kind of takes me out a little bit of the experience, because everything else is very like Russian-ish, like everything is written, you know, like in that language or whatever, and there is a lot of everyone else in the game does speak English as well. So I guess it kind of takes me a little bit out of it. Like, for me as like an American player, it's convenient for me that everyone speaks American and has this vibe, but I almost like the notion of just like really leaning into this world. That's why I like Metro 2033 so much, is because like homie's Russian, like these people that are talking to you, like, you have to read the subtitles or whatever, but like they're speaking to you in English, but it's like they at least have like accents, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of like the teetering line where it's like, how further do we want to go into like the realism, I guess, around it, or just like, do we want it to be like subtitles, people just read subtitles, or they have the accents, or are they just all speaking American? So I think that's something that maybe kind of like, it pulls me out a little bit, because I just think my character's American when he's not. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a weird thing that I deal with. But as far as for the game in general, it's very fun. Like, I haven't played, I haven't played a first person shooter that long, experience wise, like, really been invested in going back to playing, like, in a while. It's been a while. Like, I want to finish the game. I want to go back in and finish it, because a lot of these Game Pass games, I start them but I don't fucking finish them. But this one, I'm like, no, I want to go back and see what happens, you know. So it is a very engaging game. I recommend checking it out. I think I would say after the first like 45 minutes, you really start kind of getting invested. The beginning is kind of slow, where you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck's going on here? But once shit starts hitting the fan, you start seeing the scenery and everything, you're like, okay, this is kind of interesting, actually. So those are kind of my thoughts. I recommend still checking it out. Atomic Hat. So Arthur, I know you mentioned E3 as far as like, is this even gonna fucking happen or what? And I wanted to talk about this article because Konami
Oh,
kind
can
of.
I
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
slightly cut you off only for Atomic Heart? Uh, Two things I want to mention. Number one, I'm happy I get to see. That's sorry if I'm on my phone trying to find her name. I want to say it's Deborah Wilson. Don't call me the Mad TV actress that we're seeing more and more in games. She's the mentor in Jedi Survivor. She was the ally in Wolfenstein 2. She was in Forspoken, and now she's in this game. So that makes me happy. I like to see her. I like to see her in more things. The other thing with Atomic Heart I want to joke on real quick is was Polygon being Polygon of Polygon writing the article pretty much saying that quote Atomic Heart this is kind of the title here. Atomic Heart is twice as fun in easy mode. And I just thought that was hilarious. Here's a quick blurb. Atomic Heart is a hostile game. You can only manually save at dedicated save locations. Yes, in 2023, you have to stomach an entire script's worth of juvenile, quote unquote, humor. The slim offerings of accessibility settings is a genuine disappointment, to say the least. But there is at least one way to make this first-person shooter a tiny bit more approachable. Play on the lowest difficulty level. I just thought that was the most like Polygon article of like this game is hostile, and like real quick, like you can only save at manually dedicated save locations. Yes, in 2023. Yeah, that's all over the place. Have you heard of the game? The game of the year last year, Elden Ring. You know what I mean? I don't think that game was just like a pause, save wherever you want.
But it also auto saves too, so that's half true. Like it also auto saves in various locations too, so it's not full manual save. Yeah,
cool, but any Souls game, right? That's been any Souls game. That no, I'm curious how Armored Core 6 is gonna save. But again, I just thought that one thing of like you can only save in certain locations. Yes, in 2023. I'm like, get out of here, God! Just Polygon just being Polygon there. I just thought that was a funny article I wanted to mention.
Oh, were you saying, Church?
I'm saying like that doesn't sound like a real complaint. Just like saving out some locations. I mean, like Doom Eternal, like it's mission based. You know, it's like you can't save until you beat the mission. So it's like it's all subjective to the gameplay. So I think it's ridiculous.
Very true.
Funny thing you chose that game because remember Doom Eternal also made headlines because it was a nod at game journalists that the easy mode was called baby mode, or they may have been Wolfenstein. So I might be mixing up my Bethesda IPs.
Oh, that's Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein, okay.
Yeah.
And then and then the game wanted the lowest difficulty setting was pussy. Which I was like, that is hilarious.
Oh, those names, what? Because I was playing Wolfenstein, I saw a baby. I refused.
You're like, I'm not a baby. Move it back up.
Nobody gonna know but me, but I would know.
Drell, this reminds me a while ago we were talking about an article of Sony developing. We haven't heard anything from it, but remember Sony was developing a game assisted AI, and we're like, cool, finally a game journalist can play a game on normal difficulty. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I thought I'd mention that of like what makes this what makes Atomic Heart bad to Polygon. It's only playable in easy mode, guys.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm playing on normal mode, and I'm having a grand all the time. So
like a champ, like like the majority of us.
There you go. So as we were talking about E3, right? I know the past few episodes we were like, yo, like mad people aren't coming to E3. What the fuck's happening? But there is a company that is, and it's Konami. And apparently, word on the street, they are going to have some interesting announcements. And I want to read this article here. It's MSN.com, but says here, quote, according to a new report, Konami will make an appearance at this year's E3 and is looking to make a huge splash. Pause. Says here, Konami has a long, rich history of games published dating back to the late 1970s. E3 was once the premier destination for the biggest game and console reviews of the past 30 years, but has run into a series of troubles, including data leaks involving personal information of over 2,000 media attendees. Even before COVID-19 pandemic made in-person conventions and possibility, big names were already dropping out of their usual annual participation in what was formerly the biggest event in gaming calendar. It's gotten to the point where Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony will not participate in E3 2023. Konami has seen its fair share of dramas over the years, primarily of its fraught relationship with its star game designer Hideo Kojima, the mastermind of the Metal Gear Solid series. According to the VGC podcast, Konami is planning to reveal a long-rumored remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater at E3. It is also supposedly showing off the revival of Castlevania series and at least some of the Silent Hill games the studio has in the works. Says the last I'll skip all that because that's me. No one cares about that. But it says the Castlevania series has been largely dormant since its release in 2014's Lord of Shadow 2, with the series only recently being confirmed to return as a Dead Cells DC. None of that really matters. So that's basically it. So I'm kind of excited / skeptical / I don't want to buy a PlayStation 5 still, but very, very curious about this Snake Eater remake, if it's actually true. It's still a rumor. But I will say, if Snake Eater a fucking remake comes out, that is a huge fucking deal. Because I remember that was one of the Metal Gear Solid games that really changed the game in a sense. Like there was that definitely changed the framework, and it obviously was, Snake Eater crawled so Metal Gear Solid 5 can run, right? Before Phantom Pain, you had Snake Eater and you had that environment. But what do you guys think? Arthur, what are your thoughts about Snake Eater being remade for Konami? You got Silent Hill, got Snake Eater possibly. Your thoughts?
If they make it, I want them to make it so that you cannot skip that ladder, or else it's unplayable. No, again, Snake Eater. Like we're talking about Resident Evil 4 remakes. We're just casually just dropping, remaking some of the best games ever made. I still say to this day, Silent Hill 2 is one of the only horror games that I did not finish. I remember to this day, me and my friend Miguel went to Hollywood Video because that was closer than Blockbuster. That was, in fact, fun fact, that was my first job, Hollywood Video in high school. We get a game called Silent Hill, and we rented a Jackie Chan movie. We couldn't finish Silent Hill 2, so we popped on Jackie Chan. When we were walking by a car, and a hand reached out from under the car and grabbed your foot, dude, we were losing it. But Snake Eater, man, that again, I'm curious. I kind of wish it was at E3, like a live E3, because I would love for Konami to like debut that, and everyone just starts chanting Kojima. But now it's not live, so I'm gonna miss. I'm mixed. At face value, I'm hyped, but I would just love for this to happen in person because I still love watching reaction videos. I still love watching when that camera pans during when the camera stays still in the frame, and for that Cyberpunk release trailer, and you hear a voice, "Get up, samurai." Boom, come Keanu Reeves. We gotta see the bird. And everyone loses their mind. So to know that this might get so for me, it's like not tainted, but just like like the kid in me is like a little upset that that if this is confirmed, it won't get debuted to a live audience. But that being said, dude, it's Snake Eater 3. I mean, it's Snake Eater 3. It's Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's go. I'm here for it.
Church, your thoughts?
Yeah,
garbage.
They released a pachinko machine recently with Snake Eater 3, right? Where they had like the updated some cutscenes or like current graphics for Metal Gear. I think so.
I think so. You mean like an HD remaster or something like that, or
no? It was for the gambling machine. They remastered the cutscenes. It was like a Snake Eater version of that. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not privy.
Google that real quick. Metal Gear Solid pachinko machine. I think they have updated cutscenes. In terms of Konami making a presence at E3, no expectations. It's Konami. They haven't been a factor in years just because they've been focusing on their gambling for so much. So I really don't have any expectations. I'll be very surprised. The idea of a Snake Eater remake is interesting because it's the room that Bluepoint, the team that did Demon Souls, what other remake did they do? Oh my god, Shadow of the Colossus. It's rumored their next game is a Metal Gear Solid remake that they're making. So for Konami to do a Snake Eater remake at the same time, I was like, oh, that's kind of curious to see how that plays out. Um, I think for me, I mean, I'll play it, but it's not the remake that I would want. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid 5 fan. I think 5 really captured the pinnacle of the espionage genre. And I was recently just playing a download on PlayStation. There's like the stealth in that game. Nothing comes close to that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Days. They mastered it. They mastered it for sure.
Yeah, it's great. Say what you will about the story, it's great. So I would love a Snake Eater version of a game where there's a little bit open world. You know, imagine you land in the woods and it's like you got this landscape to, to explore and do the missions a little bit and sticking to the story. I want it revamped in that area as opposed to just a graphical update. That's that's what I would want, man.
I think that's fair. I mean,
that's what I want, man.
Yeah, because Phantom Pain. I mean, it's like holy shit. Like there's so many ways how I can complete this mission. So yeah, you had a whole world to really fuck around with, and to do the objectives. So yeah, I think that is interesting, right? I guess it's a poor taste in my mouth too, because Hideo Kojima is not going to touch this. You know what I mean? This is entirely Konami, so I think that's always something that I have to remember as well when they do these remakes or whatnot, is where he's not going to have any 2 cents to make it, his baby, because it's not really his baby anymore, right? So that, because part of me was like, oh man, maybe I should get a PS5. And like, wait a minute, Terrell. Kojima has nothing to do with this. Like he's chilling, and to your point, is it going to be a world worth playing, or should I just go back to Phantom Pain on my PC? You know what I mean? So
right. Arthur, were you able to figure out about that pachinko cutscenes? Was I right?
I
looked it up. But what do you got, Arthur?
I got Games Radar article from 2016. So kudos on Church for pulling this out of the hat. Metal Gear Solid 3 Pachinko is a surprisingly complete remake, for better or worse. And one of the pictures of it is look at this. Greatest pachinko machine ever. Also, Konami is clearly remaking Metal Gear Solid 3. Look at the amount of footage. Sent July 15th, 2016. Clearly they're remaking it. But so this rumor, again, when it comes to Konami and Kojima, anything Konami, remakes, I don't hold my breath.
Yeah.
But yes, Church is absolutely correct. There, if you want today to experience a, for better or worse, Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, there's a pachinko machine out there.
There's a pachinko machine that has all remade.
And I think they're going to use the same.
You think they're going to be the same?
They're use the same assets.
That is so fucked up.
Bro, they did it with Metal Gear Solid 5 assets with that terrible zombie game.
Oh man. God.
I will say one thing to Church about Metal Gear Solid 5. Again, the story, it kind of like it is, I'm not saying as much as a riff like Last of Us 2, but the story divides like true, you can call it true or diehard Metal Gear Solid fans. But gameplay, espionage, I kept getting, I was trying to, because you get more rewards for like not killing people and being true stealthy, you know what I mean? Because that's the purpose of the game. I kept getting like docked because I was killing people, but I'm like with Victor, this is back when Mixer was a thing where you can stream directly from the Xbox. So I'm back when Victor was in Japan on base, and we were kind of like quote unquote hanging out, even though we're just watching a single player game, aka my Mixer. I was like, dude, Victor, you watched it. I didn't kill anybody. Turns out if you leave someone unconscious, face down in a pool of water, they drown and you get a kill for it. Yeah, that blew my mind. There's details like that. That's like, woof. I mean, and hey, man, we're talking about Snake Eater open world. Dude, if I can build Noah's Ark 2.0, let's go.
Right there with you.
Like, ooh, is that a crocodile? Ooh, boop, 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 balloons.
I just liked some of the things, like the things you'd run into for Snake Eater, where it's like, oh man, I'm getting kind of hungry, and like you fall off a tree. Oh, you broke your leg. Oh shit, a snake bit you. I'm like, oh god, I'm dying. It's venom in my system.
I still remember playing Phantom Pain, driving past at the time, like you can risk it because you're low level. It's a quote unquote high level based or jail outpost thing. I still remember like stopping on a dime when you heard, because remember, you had to pick up the soundtrack as you went. You had to pick up the cassette tapes. I still remember stopping on
bro.
I still remember stopping on a dime when I heard "Take on Me." You know what I mean? I was like, "Take on," like swerve this car, like crashing. I'm busting it. Like, let's go get this. Let's go get this. I must have died like 6 times, and the game was clearly trying to tell me, "Hey, you're under leveled." I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if I die for another 10 hours if it means I get to listen to more "Take on Me" right now.
Yeah, I remember I used I had a silencer on my pistol, and it fucking just like took everybody out in like a campsite just to get the it's the final countdown. Yeah. Get that tape as it was playing.
Dude, one of my friends, Gloria, I used to send her clips all the time because that was when she was more active on her Xbox. Oh, every time I was like cruising the car, like run over a deer with the song Gloria, Gloria, just mow over a wild dog.
Nice.
So we're saying is, hey, Konami, while you're remastering stuff, remaster Metal Gear Solid 5. Thanks.
For real though, just give me an HDR, deeper draw distance, and 60 frames per second, and I'll be happy with the, Phantom Pain. That would be amazing. So,
I feel like I definitely. I mean, I put more hours into Phantom Pain. That's why I just have more memories of it. But man, I like the horn thing. Like, I don't know if you guys knew about the horn. Yeah, the horn mechanic. The more people you killed, the bigger it got. And the horn. The horn thing on your head. The more people you killed, the bigger it got. And once that word got out on that, oh, dude, some people were a unicorn, my dude. Just like they were just genociding everyone they came across. Nice. But Metal Gear Solid 3, Castlevania, again, Konami. Again, you saw it there. Hey guys, July 15th, 2016 tweet. Guys, they remade the game. It's coming out soon. 6 years later, 7 years later, maybe.
Right.
Even with Kojima gone, the rumor mill and Konami stays strong.
Yes, indeed. And the last thing here on the show is a developing story we've been talking about here on the show regarding to Microsoft and the deal. One of the deals is regarding to the Call of Duty IP. Sticking with Microsoft, but they have been signing multiple 10-year binding deals with other companies such as Sony, Nvidia even, and now Nintendo. So let me read this here. This is from Game Informer. So it says here in quote, Microsoft has signed a binding 10-year legal agreement with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty and Nintendo players, presuming the company's colossal $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard is approved. Since the acquisition announcement last year, Microsoft has been attempting to approve the government agencies such as the U.S. Federal Trade Commission that this acquisition does not fall into any non-monopolistic activity that would not harm competitors like PlayStation. However, Microsoft has had a bit of a rough go at it. To counter, though, the company has been proactive in attempting to get the green light from the FTC, going as far as promising PlayStation that the Call of Duty games will be to continue to come to Sony's consoles and agreeing to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo hardware. Now, Microsoft President and Chair Brad Smith has announced on Twitter that Microsoft has formally signed a legally binding 10-year agreement with Nintendo to bring the Call of Duty games to Nintendo players. The statement says here in quote, Microsoft and Nintendo are now negotiating to sign a binding 10-year legal agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo players same day as Xbox with full feature and content parity. So they experience Call of Duty just as Xbox and PlayStation gamers enjoy Call of Duty. We are committed to providing long-term equal access to Call of Duty and other game platforms, bringing more choice to more players and more competition to the gaming market. Lastly, says here, many have already begun to speculate how Activision Blizzard will bring Call of Duty games to Nintendo consoles, which are more traditionally much less powerful than current gen Xbox and PlayStation consoles, with, in quote, full feature and content parity. If I had to guess, Call of Duty will likely go to the route of cloud gaming seen on the Switch, unless Nintendo's next console is set to be significantly more powerful than the piece of hardware. Only time will tell. End quote. Interesting stuff here. I guess a couple of my 2 cents here before I throw it over to you guys is, it's interesting, right? So you have this $69 billion investment initially, right? A large percentage of that money, as far as it coming back to Microsoft quickly, or quicker compared to their other IPs, it was Call of Duty, right? But now you have these expanding binding agreements that kind of whittle down that return on investment. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering how much money that Microsoft is losing, or that would be deducted from that $69 billion deal, that now has to be legally binded with Nintendo, legally binded with Sony, which we knew, right? But then also, I heard NVIDIA, like the NVIDIA streaming service, they'd signed a 10-year deal with them too. So it's like you have all this money that's being deducted from like potential return on investment profits away from Call of Duty. So it's just, it's interesting. I guess it doesn't mean that the deal won't go through, but god damn, they're really making this tough for good old Microsoft. But I will start with Church. What are your thoughts on Nintendo getting a piece of the pie here for another 10 years as far as Call of Duty goes?
I mean, I think this is a win all around. It's like Microsoft is willing to, back up the claim. They've been saying like, hey, we have no intention to pull Call of Duty. We're going to do this 10 years. They signed the 10 years. They're willing to, expand the title and give it to more people. So I think it's overall good. Whether or not how that comes out to play in terms of how good it runs is questionable. I know the Switch streams games too as well, so that's always a factor. They could bring the game. It's on though, but is it fun to play? That's a different question. But I think it will be okay because Microsoft is committed to having streaming be part of the future. So it's going to work out just fine. My overall take of this is just that, like you said, Sony's trying to do anything to stop this deal to going through. Some YouTuber I was listening to, I think today, was trying to give me some update what's happening with the CMA and the EU. I got to the point, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to fall on the day-to-day of this anymore. Just like it, let me know if it's going to go through, or let me know if it's not going to go through. If concessions are going to happen, that they're going to make some concessions, but Microsoft did say they're not going to divest Activision. That's not a solution. It's like, it's all or nothing for us. It's not worth it if we have to split up the company. And I think that's a big indication of what they want to do. I think it's a good move for gamers overall. So I think they're going to make the money back, so why not?
Nice. Your thoughts, Arthur?
Talk about return on investment. Guys, Call of Duty on Nintendo Switch to be $70. That's how they get their money back. Let's go. That's for Nintendo. I'm just happy for it. I sent Jarrell a thing. There was that one of the many things. I want to say it came from the Apple Epic trial, because I feel like a lot of things did. If it didn't, it just came around the same time. It felt like there was that story where Microsoft got laughed out of a Nintendo meeting where Microsoft was offered to buy Nintendo, and they got laughed out of there. Now it's like, oh, you want to play? Oh, you want to Call of Duty on your Switch? Yeah, you can write that check to Big G. Let's go. Like, I just think it was funny that. I don't know. That was the first thing I thought of Nintendo just writing that check to Microsoft for Call of Duty. Either way, this is just more of like, it's almost getting to the point where I'm not saying too big to fail, but like now it kind of like has to go through. Like there's multiple companies and multiple commitments, like decades long commitments being made. So for me, again, outside looking in, I'm not on the day-to-day. There's a lot of moving parts, just things over my head. Church is talking about concessions. I love popcorn and movies too. Yeah. So a lot of things over my head for a lot of the background stuff. But either way, I like that this is coming to Nintendo. I joke on Nintendo being narrow, but they're increasingly vasting their catalog to their IPs. I think it's a good thing all around. Now, NVIDIA, my thing with NVIDIA is I'm kind of curious of how is this linked to, or will it be linked at all to NVIDIA, like partnering and I don't know if it was like a buyout or partnering with like chat GPT, because that was because smart cookies, we get all the same ads. So it was like around the same time I'm seeing articles for the Microsoft, Nintendo, NVIDIA thing. I'm also seeing articles of like oh my god, NVIDIA for X billion dollars trying to buy Chat GPT. I'm just like, okay, is this linked? Will there be an AI in Call of Duty? I don't know. I didn't feel like clicking it. I was on break. I was at work. Whatever.
I don't know if I don't think it's connected. The NVIDIA deal is specifically to GeForce Now, so specifically to that PC streaming option for a lot of their games, some of the Game Pass, but it's it's NVIDIA GeForce, and Call of Duty will be on that service, right? So as far as GPT stuff, I think that's separate. I don't think it'll be a factor for entangled within this.
I will say, at least on that note, in terms of AI, I'm definitely in the category of AI scary. I don't want to hear anything. But for this, I will say, like, this whole thing to start on what came from it early on was Sony. Sony was being very vocal, of like, oh, they're going to keep it to themselves. And Microsoft was being very public, like, no, we're not. Like, here. We're like, yes, it's ours in the sense we own it, but it's not going to be only for us to have. And so overall, this type of article of the 10-year deal with NVIDIA with Nintendo wasn't surprising to me. For me, it just goes back to like, well, like when Sony was like, oh, they're hey, they're going to keep it. This is too big of IP to keep to themselves. And a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? Like they've been very public of like they're not keeping to themselves. So I just thought it was article, some of the comments of like, Sony is saying Microsoft's going to keep it to themselves, and hear all the articles and interviews of Microsoft saying the exact opposite. I just thought it was funny of that context there.
Yeah, I guess for me it was just a reminder how much money Call of Duty makes and how important it is to the gaming economy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like the equivalent to like a company saying like, "Hey, we're going to own bread." You know what I mean? And then everyone's saying, whoa, like, what are you talking about? So it's just, as much as I don't really play Call of Duty anymore because of the people that play Call of Duty, just the factor of how critical of just how much money it makes, in the industry, and just how huge it is. It's like you understand why unfortunately they have to make one every year, just because it makes so much goddamn money. You know what I mean? Because I hear this next Call of Duty is supposed to be a sequel to Modern Warfare 2, so it's supposed to continue that particular remake of that series or whatever it is. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think this is essentially at the end of the day a win for Microsoft. To me, it just, if anything, it solidifies other companies being more comfortable with the deal going through, as long as they get their piece of the pie, i.e. Call of Duty 10-year binding agreement. And at the end of the day, I mean, Microsoft is going to have the upper hand. You know what I mean? Just at the end of the day, Microsoft will eventually have the upper hand. And most important, Bobby Kotick will be, not leading Activision, which we don't fucking want. It's like, keep your millions, just get the fuck out of here. Like, you're an awful person. Get the fuck out of here. So that, I'm looking forward to all of that. I am rooting for Microsoft around this. I think they have good intentions. You know what I mean? And I trust Phil, and Phil we trust. I need to make some t-shirts, guys. I need a is it on Game Pass shirt? We gotta get that going. And then I need to get
on Game Pass. And then I need Phil we trust.
Yeah, I need a in Phil we trust, like a coin or a keychain coin or something. Game of Life podcast and Phil we trust. I gotta get some merch going.
I was gonna say we need to have that, like, is on Game Pass, like a flashcard or something. So every time I'm watching E3, is it on Game Pass? And yes, it is. One thing to kind of pivot from this, I don't know if anyone else wants to add to the, in my opinion, not shocking deal with Call of Duty. Is Nintendo was in the news for something else, mainly in your guys' ballpark of the world. Um, what do you guys, are you guys excited for Nintendo Land opening? Universal Studios?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. The missus, we can't wait to go. I'm gonna go with my family. I've already gone on the internet, seen the sites, what specialized food you can get. I want to do the Mario Kart, racing that they have there as well. I'm just super excited, and it feels like you in a 2D version of a Mario game. Like you really immerse into the world, so to speak. So I'm excited, man. Uh, Dude, I just hope they expand it more too. It'd be amazing. So.
Yeah, it definitely seems cool. I mean, obviously, I'm not, as we've discussed, Arthur, I'm not a Nintendo baby. I didn't own. I owned Game Boy Advance. I owned the SP. I traded it for Halo. Like I just wasn't really connected to Nintendo characters. But
Fair trade.
But I got a bunch of nephews. Right, I got 3 nephews on my side. I got 2 nephews on my wife's side. I'm probably going to be taking one of them, if not all of them, to Nintendo Land some sooner or later. Right. So if anything, it's just a win. You know what I mean? It's just a win, and obviously it's something I'm forced to respect because it's Nintendo.
You're not even excited for the Mario movie that's coming out in April, are you?
It actually looks good. I'm supposed to take one of my nephews to it, actually. So
okay.
Yeah, I told him I will go. I would take him, so he's excited. So yeah, so it looks great too. So I mean, shit, I actually kind of want to see what happens. I kind of want to see how good it is. So I'll be having a Slurpee and some popcorn or something. Watch that shit.
Not only are we all co-hosts of the Gamers for Life podcast, not only do we all work from home, we are all in the uncle category. But unfortunately, mine's definitely not in the age range yet of the amusement parks. The one thing I was curious about with this is because our mutual friend Victor, he went to Nintendo Land in Japan years ago, but that was when it was like COVID and it was like still not really done. So they were in that gray area where they want to show somebody something, but it's COVID. Not everything's done. He was a little disappointed, but he was kind of understood. There are certain things like certain attractions you just couldn't go to due to like COVID regulations. It's like, I don't know, like let's say they had a high five simulator, COVID, shut it down, So but he
you can't high five Mario. Sorry, it's like, man.
Now, Church, because I know you were looking into him. You were looking into it pretty significantly. He was mentioning like a virtual wristband thing that like you link to stuff.
Access.
Is that present at the Universal Hollywood one?
Yeah, it's just a wristband that you can go around and just like collect coins throughout the day by like interacting with the environment. So there could be like a question block that you can go like this, and you can link it up to your group, and whoever has the most coins at the end of the day, you win, blah, blah, blah. And I think you may be able to access a few things. It's just something you can buy. But yeah, I think everything in Japan is going to be here. I mean, in terms of this section of the park, it's like there's only like 2 new rides in it, right? It's not like, oh, there's like 4 rides you could ride over here. It's going to be amazing. I'm more curious about the partnership that Universal has with Nintendo now and this Mario movie that's going to come out. And the success of that would inevitably lead to a sequel and to maybe whatever, expanding into other Nintendo IPs or continuing. And what does that do for the park as well? Because it's very interesting how Universal is like updating the park. You have Harry Potter, which is a big movie franchise, and then at the same time incorporating a video game into the park identity. I think it's a big, like a big look for video games and the testament of like the pop culture impact we can have on the world at the same time.
Get a 1-by-1 ratio of House of the Dead.
I'm not going in that, man. I'd be like Universal Horror Nights, bro. Imagine going to like a Resident Evil village, man. Bro. Oh my god, bro. I ain't trying to do that.
I would love for that. I would love for that Horror Nights to open up with the actual like voice actor. Resident Evil.
Jesus.
Anyway, I guess we'll end the episode here. any lasting thoughts before I cut the episode?
No. I'm good.
I have one prediction.
Yes.
If Mario movie does quite well,
yeah,
sequel is going to be Mario Galaxy.
I can see that, possibly.
Yeah, I think that's
Because how else do you expand on the Mario world? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because like if you picture like a lot of the Mario games, Mario Galaxy was like the first real big,
all new,
yeah, different, all new versus like,
I mean, bro, it's a good question. I think eventually we go to Galaxy, but I feel like this could be an in between though, because like, what are you going to do after Galaxy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
he's gonna be a hat and take over a T-Rex.
Smash Brothers or Brawl. I mean,
Brawl something. I think there's an in between, maybe a Yoshi's Island or
Luigi's
Mario
Mansion,
Sunshine.
Yeah. I made Sunshine. I would prefer the classic 64 one Peach's Castle with the paintings. I think that's kind of cool. You know.
So if they do that, Church, is Mario going to backwards butt jump on some stairs?
Naturally, you know.
It has to happen.
Of course.
It has to happen. And then side note, happy belated to Victor. He's
belated.
Yeah, he's had his birthday. You know what's funny, man? Before you end the episode, and it's very random.
I do want to make.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm gonna pick it too. I have a feeling 2023 a Mario game is gonna come out, man. I don't think a Mario movie without a game in the chamber.
Yeah, that's a terrible marketing thing if you're not gonna combine that's a missed opportunity. Great point.
I do. I know, and they're not gonna say anything because they're trying to sell Zelda. And man, but as soon as June comes around, I think we have a Nintendo Direct to remind you the success of Mario, followed by this game coming out, bro. That's my prediction. So.
Dang, we're gonna start bidding heavy. $55, $75.
Take my money.
Nah, we a burrito bet kind of group here. we bet the real
burritos currency. You got over there.
Man, we're talking about chicken, steak.
You got no burritos. He's a steak bet. Yeah, steak for a burrito. Where you at, Arthur?
I'll bet you a chalupa.
Oh man, the chalupa. I don't know.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're gonna wrap it up here for the Gamers for Life podcast. No, I was gonna say really quick. Shout out to Rayman Origins. That was a great platformer, and it just kind of people just forgot about it. But as far as great platformers, Rayman Origins, I was like, this is amazing, But maybe it's just I wasn't a Mario guy, so I was like, this is really fucking good. As far as the attempt to make something great platformer.
And its successor, Rayman Legends, with one of the best demos I've still ever played. Hey, you want to make make a level better? Make it in sync with Ram Jam Black Betty. That's how you make a boss fight.
Nice.
Blam, blam, blam.
Nice. But again, wrapping up here for Gamers Life Podcast each and every Friday/Saturday, discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. Of course, I'd like to thank my co-hosts here on the podcast, Church and Arthur.
With me.
All right. Thank you, guys. We will see you next week.